Part 63. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 621. The first impression he gave her was that of elegance and gentleness, with a handsome face that was calm and leisurely. When she looked up at him, she felt that his eyes were also looking at you. There are many people sitting cross-legged and meditating under the statue, and the statue has been surrounded for several floors. It is not easy for Xianxia to walk past, and it is easy to disturb other people's meditation. She was surprised that so many people were here. Xianxia looked around. Under the statue was a ground made of the same material as the statue. It was also spotless and reflected light in the sunlight. The ground is in a circle surrounding the statue, and outside the circle is a purple bamboo forest, which exudes nobility and mystery. Suddenly she saw a path winding through the purple bamboo forest on the left side of the statue. Hanxiang's eyes lit up. Could it be that the place where Master Shi once lived? It's not worth the trip to see Master Shi's residence. Xianxia raised his head and looked at the statue of Master Shi. He knelt down and kowtowed 3 times, thinking silently in his heart, Master Shi, my disciple, Xianxia, has come to pay my respects to you. Although he does not have the title of master and disciple, he has in the true sense of master and disciple. The disciples will pass on the medical skills and alchemy skills in Shiyulu, and the character of the person they teach will be assessed first, so please rest assured. Although Xianxia's movement was very light, it still alarmed the meditators. The reason was that they all felt that there seemed to be a surge of power from the statue. When they opened their eyes, they saw Xianxia kowtowing. The surging power disappeared, making them all wonder if their perception was wrong. After kowtowing, Xianxia stood up and instantly saw everyone looking at her. She was startled. She was already very careful. She kowtowed from such a distance because she didn't want to disturb their meditation. Why did she startle everyone instead? She bowed apologetically, sorry to bother you. Everyone was speechless, they were all shocked by her age. She could come to the top of the Divine Doctor Mountain at such a young age. How strong is her talent? It looked like they had just climbed to the top, and they were out of breath and looked calm, which was in sharp contrast to how tired they were when they came up and lay on the ground to rest for a long time. After Xianxia apologized, she walked towards the path along the purple bamboo forest. She didn't want to meditate here, so after worshipping Master Shi's statue, she wanted to go in and see where he lived, and then leave. Everyone's eyes followed her movements strangely, curious that she was here. Why was she walking along the purple bamboo forest without meditating? It is no secret that the purple bamboo forest in Divine Doctor Mountain cannot be entered. It is as if there is something isolated and no one can go in. Some people who have cultivated above demigods came to see it and said that it was not a barrier and even demigods could not enter. How could she still want to enter? Under their curious eyes, Xianxia walked to the intersection of the path and stretched her head to look inside. She could not see inside. The path was winding and there were purple bamboos everywhere she looked. She glanced at the path and walked in without hesitation. When she walked in, all the people meditating were shocked. How did she get in? They all got up and came to the place where she entered. They could not see the path that Xianxia saw. They checked carefully and found that there were not even any footprints of Xianxia's walking in. They couldn't even see the figure of Xianxia who had just entered. Those who had the courage to try to walk inside were all bounced back by the power of the purple bamboo forest without exception. Fortunately, none of them used spiritual power, otherwise it might not be as simple as playing. They looked at each other, and immediately each took out the sound transmission stone. Soon, the news that a young man had entered the purple bamboo forest of Miracle Doctor Mountain spread in the world of alchemists, and continued to spread the news to various places in the mainland. Since they couldn't go up the mountain, they could only hide in the darkness of Shanai Mountain to protect Xianxia's hidden guards. More than an hour after Xianxia went up the mountain, he saw people coming to Shanai mountain from time to time and going to Shanai mountain. I didn't care at first. After all, this mountain of divine medicine is ownerless. Anyone can come, as long as you can go up. But more and more people come to climb mountains, and there are people of all ages, which is strange. They hurriedly reported the situation to Xian. Xian had already received the news. The town where he lived had spread that a teenage boy had entered the purple bamboo forest of Miracle Doctor Mountain. The alchemy on Sadako at that time, the teacher rushed to the Divine Doctor Mountain. He felt that this young man must be Xianxia, so he told the hidden guard to just wait for Xianxia to come down the mountain, and to ignore how many people came up the mountain. The key is that the hidden guards don't have the talent for alchemy, and they can't go to the top of the mountain. He wanted to take a look, but Qihao was still there. He didn't know if Qihao could reach the top, so he suppressed his curiosity and didn't go. But Qihao couldn't wait any longer. He felt that the master must have gone into the purple bamboo forest of the Divine Doctor Mountain. With so many alchemists going to the top of the Divine Doctor Mountain, he was worried about what happened to the master. Uncle Xian, let's go to the Divine Doctor Mountain too. Xian glanced at him and said, your master told us to wait here. How dare you disobey your master? You dare, but I dare not. If the girl tells the master will definitely punish her. I thought he didn't want to go. He also wanted to go to the top of the mountain to improve his alchemy talent. Now he can only wait here with you. Xian did not expect that even if Xianxia went up the mountain to worship Master Shi, he would be able to do so in such a grand manner. It seemed that alchemists from all over the continent would come after hearing the news. He looked in the direction of the Divine Doctor Mountain. Girl, don't let anything happen to you. This guy has already called me Uncle Xian. I can't fool him if he takes it seriously. Qihao hesitated after hearing Xian's words and said, but I'm worried about Master. Xian curled his lips, let's not talk about whether you can go up. Even if you can go up, what can you do to help your master, and fall into the hands of others as a hostage to threaten your master? Qihao was immediately blocked by Xian's words. He was immediately annoyed that he was too young and too weak. He could only retreat if something happened to his master. After Xian said the word hostage, he immediately thought that even if they were here, they would probably be held hostage by someone with intentions. He immediately said, Xiaohao, we can't stay here anymore. Qihao was stunned, go to the mountain. Xian shook his head, don't even think about going up the mountain. We can't help and we can't be a burden to your master. I'll take you back to Xiangyang city first. Qihao shook his head like a rattle, I won't go back, I want to wait for the master to come back. You have to be obedient. The situation is different now. You are not safe here. I don't know if your master's identity has been revealed. If they know it is your master, they will definitely think that your master has obtained the book. Is there any other way to use it? Would it be better for you to exchange books and records? Xian also just thought of it. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 622. Hearing this, Qihao was like a deflated rubber ball, and said wimply, okay. He knew how vital the Shuyula was, and how crazy people would be if they knew that the Shuyula was in the master's hands. Their Qi family is not even considered a middle-class family. It is just a small family in a local area that has been exterminated by someone who covets it, let alone Shuyulu, which is coveted by all the alchemists in the world. Qihao agreed, and Xian felt relieved. He immediately went out to buy a set of clothes and came back to put them on for Qihao. Qihao looked at the dress worn by a girl with dissatisfaction on his face. Does it have to be like this? He is a boy. If people knew that he was dressed like a girl, they would laugh to death. It has to be like this. For the sake of safety, Just bear with it. Xian clumsily gave Chi Hao a girlish bun. She looked like a girl, so she felt relieved to take care of herself. He also changed out of his bright red brocade robe and changed into a black one. The two of them took the yan changing pill, and then Xian and Chi Hao quietly left the inn where they were staying. After making sure that no one noticed them, he took out the teleportation array and the two of them left here, teleporting directly back to Xiangyang city. Rather than entering the city openly, he used the invisibility pattern to find an opportunity to sneak into the city. Xian handed Chi Hao to his grandfather and told them not to leave the house until Yuan Xiongluo came back. Ji Zhong has set up a defensive formation for the entire mansion. As long as they don't go out, nothing will happen. When Chi Changhe saw his grandson dressed as a girl and brought back by Xian himself, he knew that something big had happened. He nodded and said, "Don't worry, Mr. Mu, Xiao Hao and I won't go out." Xian warned Chi Hao again, "No one knows you are back. As long as you don't go out, they will think you are with your master. You must have confidence in your master's ability and stay at home and wait for your master." Although Chi Hao was worried about Yu Xiongluo, he also knew that he should be obedient. He nodded and said, "Uncle Xixian, go ahead. I will stay at home and not go anywhere." Xixian knew that Chi Hao was a smart boy. He had already said so, and he would definitely understand the importance of the matter. "Turn around and leave, quickly leave the city and go back to the small town again." He changed back to his original clothes and appearance, returned to the inn, checked out the room, and left. Then he found a secluded place and changed back into the black brocade robe. He took another yan changing pill and headed for the Divine Doctor Mountain. And go. He had to go up the mountain to know first-hand information, but he didn't know if his talent could make it to the top. He also didn't use his own identity to climb mountains, so that if anything happened, he would still be able to think of something. After Xian came back from such a torturous trip, he found that there was already a sea of alchemists who came to the Divine Medical Mountain. The originally wide climbing steps were crowded with people. If someone from Divine Doctor Mountain hadn't entered the purple bamboo forest, he wouldn't have known there were so many alchemists in the higher continent. However, the alchemists who can come so quickly are all people with some background, who can at least use teleportation arrays, teleportation array discs or mysterious patterns. There are some people who are not talented enough to climb the mountain, so they are waiting for news at the foot of the Divine Doctor Mountain. They come here just in case they have a chance to see Shuyulu. After Master Shuyi returned to the Divine Doctor Mountain, no one can enter the purple bamboo forest where he once lived. Today, a young man actually entered. They all suspected that the person who accepted the inheritance from Master Shuyi came. The successor came. Shuyulu is about to appear, it's okay if you don't get to see it. Therefore, almost all the alchemists who could come came. Moreover, people kept appearing at the foot of the mountain. They were the ones who got the news late and came here. Xian frowned. There were too many people. However, no matter how many people there were, they still had to go up the mountain, so he climbed the steps and walked up the mountain without hesitation. He didn't feel any resistance, but he could see many people struggling to climb the mountain on the way. It was like this before they were even halfway up. They couldn't climb up at all, so why did they come to join in the fun? By the time he got halfway up the climb, there were fewer people there, at least there was no need for them to keep rubbing shoulders with each other. The higher he climbed, the fewer people there were. However, when he climbed 3/5 of the way, he felt a slight resistance. It was not very obvious. He could still walk up at a normal speed, but when he climbed 4/5 of the way, the resistance increased and the speed slowed. Xian is not in a hurry. This is not something he can solve in a hurry. Now it seems that his alchemy talent is still good, but because of the evildoer Yu Xiongluo, he has lowered his position. Now I've found some confidence again. Can't compare with Xianxia, but compared with these alchemists, he is still good. I do know what the above is now, and the fragrance is not stupid. On the contrary, she looks like a sieve, and she will not easily let her be in trouble. He is just worried that her identity will be exposed. As long as her identity is not exposed, there will be no problem. By the time Xian climbed up, there were already many people on it. He glanced at the huge statue of Master Shi standing there, and feelings of admiration surged in his heart. At this time, no one was meditating under the statue of Master Shi. Xian ignored the others who were checking around the place where the incense of the purple bamboo forest fell. Instead, he knelt down to the statue of Master Shi and kowtowed 3 times before getting up and observing the surroundings. Listen to what those people are saying to understand what the situation is now. After listening for a long time, it was still the same information he heard before. Nothing else happened since Xianxia fell in. These people didn't find anything out, and no one else could get in. Xian didn't move forward either, leaning on the base of Master Shi's statue and looking at those people. Xianxia didn't know anything about the outside. She walked along the winding path and walked for a while before walking out of the purple bamboo forest. The purple bamboo forest is not small. The fragrance of bamboo is refreshing, making Xianxia feel physically and mentally comfortable. The aura in the purple bamboo forest is very rich, much richer than the aura around the statues outside. It's not like Xianxia has never seen purple bamboo before. The purple bamboo here definitely does not grow naturally. It must have been planted by Master Shi in the past. The purple bamboo here is very strong. After all, it has been growing for at least 10,000 years. Who has seen bamboo that has grown for 10,000 years, let alone purple bamboo? This is the first time she has seen it in her life. Therefore, this bamboo fragrance is different. It can soothe your mood and sort out your physical discomfort. Walking through the purple bamboo forest is equivalent to purifying your body. As soon as you walk out of the purple bamboo forest, you will see endless medicinal fields. Isn't this the top of Xuanhuan mountain? She looked at it from the bottom of the mountain. The area at the top of the mountain was not large. How could there be such a large area of medicinal fields? Xianxia is very confused. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 623. It has been 10,000 years since Master Shi fell into nothingness. These medicinal materials were all planted by Master Shi himself back then, and the youngest ones were born 10,000 years ago. For alchemists, these medicinal materials are priceless treasures, and for the world, they are also an unquantifiable amount of wealth. Xianxia was very emotional. Tens of thousands of years have passed, and no one has taken care of the medicinal fields here. How can they grow so well, and there are not a single weed in the medicinal fields? It was then that she realized that she should be the only one who could come in the purple bamboo forest. If anyone who could climb the mountain could come in, none of these medicinal materials would be left. Looking as far as the eye can see, there is a house in the distance of the medicine field. It is a 2-story building standing in the medicine field. It should be the place where Master Shi lived. Xianxia glanced at the clean path and walked towards the house. Now that she has come here, Master Shi will not leave nothing behind. Maybe the answers she wants to know are all in the room. Otherwise Master Shi would not have left behind his medical skills when he disappeared into nothingness, and the successors of his medical skills would come to Qingyun Mountain to worship him in 10,000 years. Since he knew that his successor would come back to worship him, he would definitely leave a message for him. The location of Divine Doctor Mountain is at the northernmost edge of the northern continent. The eastern continent and the northern continent are the coldest continents in the entire higher continent, especially in the north of the northern continent. Snow begins to fall in October every year, and the snow does not melt until May or June of the next year. There are some high mountains here with snow all year round. It is now the end of September, and it will soon be October. Before coming to Xianxia Mountain, Yan Xianluo thought that all the leaves on the trees here had fallen off and the weather was very cold. After all, it was going to snow soon. She thought she would see snow when she came here, but that was something she had never seen with her own eyes in another world. But after arriving here, what surprised her was that Divine Doctor Mountain was still lush and green, and the temperature was also very suitable. Although it was not as warm as Yaoguang City, at least she didn't feel cold without changing clothes. She used the teleportation pattern to come here. She didn't know what the temperature was around the Divine Doctor Mountain at this time. Originally, she thought it would be colder at the top of the mountain, but the temperature did not change much when she climbed to the top. Then when she saw the purple bamboo forest that can only grow in the south, Yuan Xianluo was already sure that there must be some secret in Xianxia Mountain. The secret may also be in that two-story house. Yan Xianluo felt a little excited. Although she had adapted to abnormal things often happening here after returning from her soul, this was the first time she was so excited about something. After leaving the purple bamboo forest, the smell of medicinal herbs became stronger. She carefully discerned the smell to know what medicinal materials were here. She has medicinal materials given to her by the fifth senior brother, and there are many types of medicinal materials that she does not know. In Master Shiyi's medicine field, there are also types of medicinal materials that she smells but does not know what kind of medicinal materials they are. This indicates the types of medicinal materials here. I'm afraid there are rare species that can't be found in the entire continent. No alchemist can resist the attraction of medicinal materials, and Yan Xianluo is no exception. But there is something more attractive to her at this time, which is the secret here. Finally she came to the two-story building. She was surprised to find that the building of the two-story building looked different from the buildings here. It was more like the building in another world where she lived alone. Yan Xianluo was extremely shocked. Could it be that the soul of Master Shiyi also came from the world she lived in? There is a small yard in front of the building, surrounded by partitions made of purple bamboo segments as high as the knees, which separate the yard from the medicinal fields. There is a cherry blossom tree planted on the left side of the yard. It is not very high, as high as a story. It is not the season for cherry blossoms to bloom at this time, so the tree is only full of green. There is a rocking chair under the tree, made of purple bamboo, and next to it is a square table made of purple bamboo. Although there is no tea set on it, Yan Xianluo's mind instantly appears in the rocking chair where Master Shiyi is lying, and the fragrance of tea is lingering on the table. Overflowing, the rocking chair swayed slowly. Master Shiyi looked at the endless medicinal fields. What kind of life is that? Lonely happiness. Yan Xianluo looked at the door on the first floor of the house and walked over. She raised her hand and knocked on the door. She said in a medium voice, "Master Shiyi, can my disciple Yu Xianluo go in?" As soon as her voice fell, the closed door slowly opened, and the scene inside came into view. This should be the main hall, which is what we call the living room, but Master Shiyi's main hall is indeed the living room. It was like the modern world she lived in. The most typical one is the unique sofa. The entire house is made of purple bamboo, but it is very fine. The furniture inside is also made of purple bamboo, and it is also made very delicately. It is made with the same techniques as the bamboo furniture in the modern world where she lived. Yan Xianluo walked in. The living room was decorated warmly and comfortably. Yan Xianluo was a little confused. Why did Master Shiyi, who loved life so much, stay single all his life? In fact, it looks like there is a hostess here. It doesn't look like it was decorated by a man. To be precise, it doesn't look like a style that a man likes. Behind the sofa is a huge screen, also made of purple bamboo, with a cherry blossom tree carved on it. There is also a rocking chair and table under the tree. It is very similar to the scene outside, except there is no house. Xianxia looked at the screen with some confusion. Other people's screens were all carved with meaningful pictures. How could he carve the cherry blossom trees, tables, and rocking chairs where he lived? Behind the screen, on the left side is the staircase leading upstairs. The upstairs should be the living room. Xianxia is not so impolite. Although Master Shi is no longer here, she will not go to someone else's bedroom so impolitely. At this time, she wanted to know, could this place help her solve her doubts? At this moment, the door on the left opened. Xianxia looked and saw that there should be a study room inside. Since it was open, she could go in. She was not afraid and walked over. After entering, I saw the whole view of the study. There is a row of bookshelves against the wall inside, with a dozen or so books scattered on them, not many. Most of the bookshelves are filled with some ornaments, which should be the items that Master Shi likes. There are pens, ink, paper, and inkstones on the desk, and there are several brushes of different thicknesses hanging on the pen holder. There was a letter placed in the middle of the desk. Xianxia saw the letter and it said, "My disciple opened it personally." Xianxia knew that this letter should be left to the successor of Master Shi. Although he did not officially become a master, he was still considered a disciple. Xianxia did not go directly to get the letter and open it, but knelt down and kowtowed, "Disciple Xianxia pays homage to master." The fragrance falls ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 624. Chapter 624 Bring it to see. This head represents that Xianxia has officially become a disciple. This is respect for the disciple's title in the letter left by Master Shi. 10,000 years apart, one has fallen into nothingness, and the other is at the same age. This is the first time for her to be apprenticed to Xianxia like this, and I am afraid she is also the first person on the mainland. After Xianxia stood up, the letter on the desk floated up, suspended in front of her, and she could reach it. Xianxia raised her hands respectfully, and the letter fell into her hands. The letter was light and airy, but at this moment, Xianxia felt as heavy as a mountain. She knew that it contained everything she wanted to know without even thinking about it. The cover of the letter looked very dated at first glance. Xianxia did not open it immediately. Instead, she sat cross-legged on the ground with the letter in her hand, closed her eyes and meditated. Just when she received the letter, an idea came to Xianxia's mind. If she meditated immediately, she would gain unexpected rewards. Therefore, she did not rush to open the letter and read it. Instead, she respectfully held the letter and began to meditate. At this time, Xianxia was sitting on the throne in the demon palace of the demon realm, looking at the two rows of people standing below, his eyes without any warmth. The atmosphere in the main hall was not very good, it was very oppressive, and it was quiet as if there was no one inside. Fu Qingfen walked in and was not surprised at all by the depressing atmosphere in the hall. The king's absence this time was not long, but not short either, and there were many people doing tricks. Now that the king is back safe and sound, he who did something but didn't wipe his clean will naturally have to say something. Fu Qingfen walked up to Xianxia and said something to him. Xianxia's eyes immediately fell on a guard in black robes behind the ministers. When the guard noticed Xianxia's gaze, he immediately felt a lot more pressure on him. He could barely stand, but he couldn't control the cold sweat on his body, and his clothes quickly got wet. Without waiting for Xianxia to speak, he immediately trotted over and said, "Your Majesty." Although he didn't know where he had dissatisfied the king, he must immediately express his respect and loyalty to the king. Xianxia asked with a calm voice, "Kahi, there is a woman contaminated with demonic energy in the demon refining pool. Did you send her in?" He looked at him for a moment and sent people into the demon refining pond. As one of the captains of the demon palace guards, he really didn't have this power, but his ancestors did. Other than the demon king and the elders, the only people who have the power to enter the demon refining pool are those who have made great military exploits for the demon clan. There are not many such people in the demon clan. His Chu family had an ancestor who was very strong in cultivation and fighting ability. He participated in the demon spirit war with the demon king and made great achievements, so he received a demon loyal order. This demonic loyalty order represents their family's loyalty to the king, because the owner of the demonic loyalty order is determined to be loyal to the demonic king for all future generations. Therefore, their family is a family trusted by the king. Hence, people with the demonic loyalty order naturally have some privileges, and sending people into the demonic refining pond is one of them. Now that his family's demon loyalty order has been passed to him, he has this qualification and power. What he was wondering about was why the demon king specifically asked about this matter. After all, there are not a few spiritual practitioners like Xianxia who have become demons through the demon refining pool. The demon king has never asked about such a thing. Is there something wrong with that woman Xianxia? Back to the king, she was sent in by a subordinate. She is from a lower continent and is a subordinate's woman. Therefore, she wants to come to the devil world to live with her subordinates. This is the only way. Tianjun looked at Chu He for a while and then said, "It's not a big deal to like a woman, but it's not a shameful thing to fall for a woman." Chu He's heart suddenly sank. The king never cared about the private lives of his subordinates, especially since he was one of the demon king's captains of guards. If he was not someone whom the demon king trusted, he would not be the captain of the guards. It is no secret that he likes women. Everyone who knows him knows it, and he does not like pure and beautiful women. On the contrary, he likes women with taste, otherwise he would not fall in love with Xianxia. Why did the king specifically remind himself today? Or in front of so many people, in the main hall? People from families like theirs are people trusted by the king. Therefore, the king will not say anything to them in public. Even if they make mistakes, he will reprimand them privately. Although what he said today is very tactful, it is equivalent to reprimanding them in public. He went through several circles in his mind, but he couldn't ask directly. He could only bite the bullet, stare at the other people's eyes with suspicion, and said, "I understand." Tianjun waved his hand, and He retreated in a cold sweat, thinking in his mind that he would quickly arrange for someone to check Xianxia. If there was really any problem with this woman, he would not cause trouble for himself. Although the king believes that his family will not betray him, he is the one with the highest cultivation level in his family and is far from the glory of his ancestors. He must act cautiously and not destroy the family's glory and privileges because of a woman. You must know that the demonic loyalty order can be withdrawn. In the demon world, it would be a great shame and humiliation for a person who has the demonic loyalty order to be withdrawn. His eyes drifted past Fu Qingfeng. If he wanted to go to Fu Qingfeng to inquire later, it seemed that Fu Qingfeng should know something. Tianjun's eyes fell on a man again. "General Cheng, there is another man in the demon refining pool. Did you send him in?" The man who was called General Cheng had already changed his mind just now when Tianjun asked about the people in Kahi's demon refining pond, just because he also sent someone into the demon refining pond. Sure enough, the king asked him. General Cheng came out immediately, saluted first, and then said, "Report to your majesty." "Yes." Tianjun narrowed his eyes and asked, "What is the origin of this person?" General Cheng lowered his eyes, hiding the look in his eyes, "Reporting to your majesty, a few days ago I went to patrol Changling and rescued him on the way. This man was also from the lower mainland, and was branded a slave, because the protective master was seriously injured and was tainted by demonic energy. He was abandoned by his original owner. I happened to meet him and rescued him by accident. He was grateful for my help. Well, you have to follow me. I told him that I am a member of the demon clan and he is willing to join my demon clan. Therefore, after he made the oath, Waikan sent him into the demon refining pond. Ge Tianjun looked at General Cheng with burning eyes. Cold sweat broke out on General Cheng's back. He said to Tianjun, when he comes out, bring him to have a look. Yes, General Cheng responded immediately. At this time, he understood that asking Chu He was just an introduction, and the king's target was himself. He was already very careful, so why did he doubt it? End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 625. Chapter 625, Catch Her. This time when the king left the palace, he was very honest on the surface and didn't do anything. Wouldn't he be suspicious of anything? After retreating, General Cheng was still worried. Although the king didn't ask any questions, he was sensitive to the king's distrust of him and thought he should be more cautious in the future. The king who has experienced a catastrophe is not the previous king. It is difficult to guess his thoughts. Since the king came back last time, he has never guessed the king's thoughts accurately. This is not a good thing. Chu He saw that Ge Tianjun asked General Cheng about giving away the demon refining pond again, and he immediately understood that the king was just using him to target General Cheng. However, he did not take any chances because of this. He knew that the king never did useless things. There must be something wrong with Qin Suiyu. The ministers standing below saw Ge Tianjun asking Chu He and General Cheng about the demon refining pool one after another, and thought that was the end of the day. But they thought wrong, this was just an appetizer. Next, it's time for Ge Tianjun to really take action. When he takes action, he is no longer questioning you, but directly throwing out the evidence, and then dealing with it directly without any need for you to defend yourself. There is no emotion at all, and ruthlessness is not enough to describe his methods. All the ministers were shocked by Ge Tianjun's change. He was very decisive and not sloppy at all. However, no one can find fault with the results of his disposal. Even if you have meritorious service, he will clearly explain in the disposal what the merit is worth, and then what is the final result of the judgment. Actually, it was Fu Qingfeng who was speaking all the time, and Ge Tianjun was just sitting on the throne listening, but everyone knew that Fu Qingfeng was Ge Tianjun's right-hand man, and what he said was Ge Tianjun's decision, so no one dared to refute. General Cheng felt a layer of cold sweat break out on his back. Only then did he realize that Ge Tianjun had just asked him how gentle he was. After using sharp methods to deal with the leader of the people he sent to assassinate him this time, Ge Tianjun returned to his palace. Fu Qingfeng then asked, "Your Majesty, why didn't that man named Miao Nagano deal with him directly?" Ge Tianjun glanced at him and said, "Since he wants to cultivate his own minions, it is natural to give him a chance. People we know are better than those in the dark. Keep them. They will be useful at critical moments." Fu Qingfeng immediately understood what Ge Tianjun meant. Although he had dealt with so many people today, the real mastermind behind them was still at large. The king has many brothers and uncles, and naturally there are many people staring at the throne. However, there is only one who dares to fight against the king, and that is the king's third brother Ge Tianyu. His talent is not low, but when he took office as the demon king and chose the prince, he chose his youngest son Ge Tianjun instead of Ge Tianyu. No one knows why. Ge Tianyu has always been unconvinced. He didn't deal with the king openly, and he used countless tricks secretly. 3 years ago, the king was almost killed because of Ge Tianyu's scheme. From that time on, the king would never show mercy to any brother again. Therefore, Fu Qingfeng was worried when Ge Tianjun trusted Yu Xiongluo so much. Worried that the king of his family would fall into the hands of a woman. General Cheng is Ge Tianyu's man. He keeps recruiting people with good talents, but they are all demon cultivators. Miao Qiangjai is the first spiritual cultivator. Even if spiritual cultivation has gone through the refining process in the demon refining pool, the spiritual energy in the body has been cleared, and the demonic energy can be cultivated. It is not pure demonic cultivation. No matter how good the talent is, part of it will be lost, and there is also a fatal drawback. Therefore, Getnu's purpose of recruiting spiritual practitioners into the demon refining pond must not be simple. Since the king knows it well, he will say no more. Your Majesty, what should we do with Qin Suiyu? Fu Qingfeng asked again. When he was checking up on Yan Xiangluo, he learned that Qin Suiyu was only brought back by Chu He because she plotted against Yan Xiangluo and was tainted with demonic energy. He thought that the king would immediately execute the woman who was against Yan Xiangluo. Woolen cloth. But the king actually didn't let Chu He take action. He just reminded him. He was a little confused about the king's intention. Tianjun looked at the door of the palace. Keep it, firstly, to sharpen Kahi, and secondly, Xiaoluo should prefer to deal with enemies by himself. Fu Qingfeng was stunned. He didn't expect the king to be so thoughtful and even think of this. Yu Xiangluo has too much influence on the king. Xiaoluo has arrived at the Divine Doctor Mountain, Tianjun asked. Fu Qingfeng came back to his senses and said, here we are. I arrived today. I just received the news that a teenage boy from Divine Doctor Mountain went to the place where Master Shi once lived. To him, the purple bamboo forest was like nothing. The obstacles are the same. Now, there are many alchemists coming to the Divine Doctor Mountain. Tianjun's eyes narrowed when he heard this, and then he said to the dark place, Zilu, take people to the Divine Doctor Mountain immediately. Xiaoluo is fine, so they don't have to do anything. If there is any concern about their lives, don't worry about it. To protect Xiaoluo, the sun is the master. Fu Qingfeng was stunned. Zilu was the leader of the king's secret guard. The king actually sent Zilu to protect Yu Xiangluo. Your Majesty, the palace is not peaceful. Zilu should stay here to protect the king and arrange for others to go, Fu Qingfeng said disapprovingly. Tianjun glanced at him and said, if something happens to Xiaoluo, it will be a big deal. If others go, it will be in vain. Because of the gap between demon spirits, Tianjun didn't want others to know that she was his adopted sister. It would be good for her. Therefore, he sent his own secret guard leader, who was absolutely loyal to him. Fu Qingfeng pursed his lower lip. Is the king sure that the young man who went in is Xiangluo? Tianjun nodded, it's definitely her. Fu Qingfeng had never seen Tianjun so sure about anything before. He frowned and suddenly opened his eyes. Could it be that the medical skills that Yu Xiangluo learned were from Master Shiyi's Shiyuluo? If this is the case, he will understand why Yan Xiangluo's medical skills are so powerful. He said nothing more, because he knew very well that the king's temperament was consistent, so he could only express contrary opinions to the king, and no one else dared to say so. Fu Qingfeng was sure of Yan Xiangluo's medical talent, but he didn't want her to affect their king, so he was wondering what to do. It's impossible to attack Yan Xiangluo directly, because the king has sent his own secret guard leader to protect her. Then there was only one way left, which was to kill someone with a borrowed sword. He would not allow the king to have any more weaknesses. Fu Qingfeng lowered his eyes to cover the look in his eyes, already having an idea in his mind. That day, the story about Yan Xiangluo spread quietly in the demon city, and her name as a miracle doctor was spread like a god. In a large and luxurious mansion in the demon city, Tianyu tapped his knees with one hand and held his chin with the other, looking at the person below. Catch her. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 626. Everyone below knows who the person Getnu is talking about, because they have been discussing this person for an hour. That is the miracle Dr. Yu Xianluo who suddenly appeared in the spiritual world. The people below immediately said, "Master, although Yan Xianluo has the reputation of a miracle doctor, let's not talk about whether her medical skills are good or not, but what she heals is spiritual practice. Can she be able to do it for us demons?" Getnu's tone was very intriguing. Whether you are a demon cultivator or a spiritual cultivator, you are still a human being. One is cultivating spiritual energy and the other is cultivating demonic energy. You will know if it works or not by trying it. "Master, if we don't get it right, we will be enemies of the entire spiritual world," someone reminded him. "What's so scary about a place where even the king has been lost?" "It's just a pile of sand," Getnu said with disgust. "Master, even so, Yunzhang Palace is not easy to mess with. Their strength is still very scary," someone persuaded without giving up. "Although the spiritual world does not have its own king, it is not leaderless. It has always been headed by Yunzhang Palace, and all the forces in the entire spiritual world follow Yunzhang Palace. The location of Yunzhang Palace is the place with the richest spiritual energy in the entire continent, and it is also the only way to go to the 9 heavens. Whether you are a demon cultivator or a spiritual cultivator who wants to go to the 9 heavens, you have to pass through the Yunzhang Palace. The lowest level of cultivation for people in Yunzhang Palace is the level. Although they have been accumulating their own strength, they still have to distract themselves from competing for the position of the Demon King. Getnu is not easy to deal with. Before the great cause is accomplished, it is not a wise move to provoke the spirit world." Getnu said playfully, "You think too highly of people in the spirit world. They don't have such strong cohesion." After finishing speaking, he waved his hand to signal them not to dwell on this topic anymore, and they would immediately do what he said. The people below looked at me and you and then stopped talking. In their hearts, they actually looked down on people in the spirit world, but they just thought more about it based on the principle of being cautious. And their master really needs a person with superb medical skills to solve his physical problems. 3 years ago, in order to kill Getnu, Getnu paid a high price. At that time, he thought he had succeeded. Unexpectedly, Getnu came back 3 months later. He had obviously destroyed his Danshan, but not only did he come back intact, his cultivation strength had also increased, and his cultivation had improved even more in the past 3 years. Soon, Getnu knew that Getnu must have encountered some kind of miracle within 3 months of disappearing, otherwise it would have been absolutely impossible for him to recover as before, and his cultivation level had increased so much. It's just that he couldn't find any information despite all his efforts. However, the injury he suffered while killing Getnu has never completely healed. This hidden danger had a great impact on his cultivation, so that his cultivation has never been improved. Secretly, he found many alchemists with superb medical skills, but no one could cure his injuries. Now that I heard that a miracle doctor appeared in the spiritual world, it is no wonder that he is so persistent in trying to catch the person back. Only he knows that if he doesn't solve this problem, his cultivation will not be improved at all. Not to mention his ambition, even if he can deal with Getnu and get the throne of the Demon King, it will all come to nothing. He just didn't tell his subordinates. The last time the plan was so perfect, it succeeded but failed. Although he has not stopped in the past 3 years, he also knows that such small fights cannot affect Getnu. If he wants to completely solve Getnu, he must take action himself. But if he wants to take action, he must improve his cultivation level by another level before he can be confident. At their level of cultivation, it is difficult to advance to the next level, not to mention that there are hidden dangers in his body that affect his cultivation. Now that there is hope, how could he miss it? Yuan Xianglou didn't know that he had not only attracted many alchemists in the spiritual world, but also provoked the most difficult devil in the demon world. After Fu Qingfeng received the news that Ge Tianyu sent people to the spirit world, he immediately knew that his goal had been achieved. Yes, he deliberately spread the news about the miracle Dr. Yan Xianglou. In order to spread the news to the extent that Ge Tianyu would take it seriously, he changed several identities and faces, and deliberately exaggerated to make Yan Xianglou's art legendary. There is only one purpose, which is to attract Ge Tianyu's attention. Although the news that Ge Tianyu was injured did not come out, the king said that Ge Tianyu was also seriously injured and was just better than him, so he thought of this trick of borrowing a knife to kill someone. Yan Xianglou's reputation as a miracle doctor has been widely spread in the spiritual world. Now it is normal for the demon world to know this news. Absolutely no one knows that he has tampered with it. But he forgot that there is no airtight wall in the world. The fragrance fell in the purple bamboo forest where Master Xu lived and was meditating. More and more alchemists gathered outside the purple bamboo forest. Xian's mouth twitched when he looked at the crowds of people. Sure enough, there were many people with good talents. Normally, when seeing an alchemist of level 6 or above, he would feel that he was very valuable, but today his eyes were opened. The alchemists who can come here are all very talented, at least the 6th grade alchemist. Xian feels that even in the mainland alchemist competition, there will never be so many alchemists. After all, not all alchemists will participate in the competition, but Xu Yulu has appeared, and every alchemist wants to see it. Now it seems that there are quite a lot of alchemists above the 6th level on the mainland. Xian leaned on the base under the statue of Master Xu and did not move forward. He knew in his heart that no one could enter the purple bamboo forest except Yan Xianglou. He is not worried about Yan Xianglou's safety at this time, but what he will do when she comes out. Not to mention the purple bamboo forest, even the square is full of people. There is nothing in the empty square except the statue of Master Xu. It is impossible to hide it. There are still people here. As soon as Yuan Xianglou comes out, he will be exposed to everyone. He is really not sure that he can help. The fragrance falls. How to do it? Xian couldn't think of a way and didn't know when Yan Xianglou would come out. He raised his head and looked at the statue of Master Xu, then sat down under the statue and started practicing. He learned this from Yan Xianglou, who never worried about things that he couldn't do or didn't know the result of. He should use this time to practice and don't waste time. Maybe he could use him to improve his talent in alchemy. Every person who came up after him would look at him as if he were a fool. How could he still be in the mood to practice after all this time? After despising Xian, without exception, they all ran to the crowd and pushed forward to see what was going on in front of them. Xian left a trace of mental energy to pay attention to those people, and at the same time to protect himself. As long as something happened, he would immediately sense and quit practicing. The fragrance falls ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 627. At this time, Yan Xianglou had been meditating for an hour, and nothing had changed. At this moment, her body was suddenly surrounded by a burst of golden light, and she could no longer be seen, like a golden cocoon. Same. Yan Xianglou inside finally felt the change. She didn't feel anything at first when she meditated, but when her body was enveloped by a sudden burst of golden light, a golden light group appeared in her sea of consciousness. The golden light group was only the size of a fist at first, but it continued to grow until the light group occupied her entire sea of consciousness. It suddenly exploded, emitting countless golden starlight, and the entire sea of consciousness was filled in the moment it exploded. The golden starlight fills the entire sea of consciousness, which is very beautiful. At the same time, a warm breath spread in the sea of consciousness. Yan Xianglou felt that the sea of consciousness had never been more comfortable, so that her whole body felt light and buoyant, as comfortable as if she could fly without using spiritual power. Yan Xianglou knew that it would not be just like this, and the real benefits should appear soon. Sure enough, just as the golden starlight filled the entire sea of consciousness, many spiritual powers were born out of thin air, emerging from everywhere in the sea of consciousness, constantly filling the sea of consciousness. Originally, her sea of consciousness was very large and her mental power was very strong. Now so much mental power appeared out of thin air, quickly filling up her sea of consciousness. For a moment, she felt that she had endless mental power. It seems that the mental power can spread far away with just a slight movement. But at this time, she discovered a problem. No matter how big her sea of consciousness was, it had a capacity limit. At this time, the sea of consciousness was already full. After squeezing it hard, the mental power that appeared out of thin air could not be contained. This is how to do. If this continues, her sea of consciousness will be burst. If her sea of consciousness is burst, she will have no spiritual consciousness, which is equivalent to this person having no brain and no thinking. Such a person can't do anything, which is equivalent to death. Yan Xianglou was anxious. At this moment, she suddenly remembered the stone containing spiritual power that she got when she traded the soul body of the previous head of the Wang family in Yaoguang City. Since it contains mental power, can we continue to store mental power in it? Since she thought of it, she should do it immediately. If she didn't think of a way, her consciousness would be broken. As soon as Yan Xianglou thought, the stone that stored spiritual power appeared in her hand, lying side by side with the letter. Yan Xianglou immediately mobilized the mental power in her sea of consciousness to contact the stone. Hey, she contacted the stone so easily. Those mental powers naturally entered the stone as if they were back at home. Her heart was beating rapidly. Although she thought of it, she didn't know if her mental power could be input. If she couldn't, no matter how much mental power she used, it would not be consumed as fast as the mental power that appeared out of thin air. Unexpectedly, as soon as her spiritual power touched the stone, she was immediately sucked into it. Yan Xianglou was overjoyed and immediately increased the output of her mental power. The feeling that her consciousness was about to burst disappeared immediately. Yan Xianglou doesn't know how much mental power can be stored at this time, and how much more mental power will there be that appears out of thin air. Just try desperately to draw the extra mental power out of the sea of consciousness, and then store it in the stone. Just like that, unexpected harmony. A quarter of an hour later, the mental power that appeared out of thin air finally stopped, and Yan Xianglou decisively cut off the output of mental power. As long as you don't panic, the more mental energy you can leave, the better. Her sea of consciousness is still golden, but before there were just a few stars, now the entire sea of consciousness is golden. Yan Xianglou understood that the twinkling of stars before was because her mental power was not strong enough. When she was about to burst, she kept compressing her mental power. Now her mental power in the sea of consciousness was pressed tightly. So you can't see the stars. Yan Xianglou opened her eyes and looked at the stone in her hand. She felt that no matter how much mental power she had, it was not enough to feed the stone. What kind of treasure is the stone that can actually swallow up so much spiritual power? Can the spiritual power swallowed by him be re-imported? If possible, can we use these mental powers to change the consciousness of people whose mental powers are not strong enough? Although she had doubts in her heart and wanted to try it, she didn't have time to think too much at this time. Looking at the letter in her hand, she knew it was time to open it. Although the letter was in an envelope, it was not sealed and could be opened easily. Taking out the letter paper inside, there were about 4 or 5 pieces of paper. Yan Xianglou was very curious about what was written in it. She also wanted to know whether there were answers to some questions. Open the letter paper, and the elegant fonts come into view. Yan Xianglou didn't expect Master Shiyi's handwriting to be so delicate and graceful. If she hadn't known that he was a man, she would have thought that the calligraphy was written by a woman. The title of the letter at the beginning was "My disciple sees the words as if he were the face," and Xianxia felt warm in her heart. Although the master and the disciple were thousands of years apart and had never met, these words were very touching to her heart. Mr. Xianxia felt warm in her heart. She could sense Master Shiyi's expectations for his apprentice who would appear in 10,000 years. Although you and I have been masters and disciples for thousands of years, it does not affect us as masters and disciples. It is true that alchemy and medical skills require talent, but the more important thing is love. Only if you truly like this profession can you be on this journey. Only by persevering can you one day break through yourself, break through the teachings of Master, and develop your medical skills to a higher level. Xianxia was surprised that Master Shiyi's state of mind and ambition could think so far. No wonder he has made such great achievements in medical skills and alchemy. The world is as big as his heart is, and his realm is as high as he is. Even if he is about to sink into nothingness, he is still admonishing his disciples for higher breakthroughs in medical skills and alchemy. I also put this point at the beginning of the letter, which shows how much I attach importance to it. Just for this reason, Xianxia liked and respected this master who would never be able to see him again. Xianxia continued to read. As a teacher, I have been immersed in medical skills and alchemy all my life. My love is my original intention, and wanting to make a breakthrough is the main reason for my persistence. Xuanhuan Mountain is my birthplace, and my parents also disappeared into nothingness here. I have traveled all over the mainland in my life, but my favorite place is Xuanhuan Mountain, so I rarely leave it after returning here. Now that I am about to disappear into nothingness, I really can't bear to leave Xuanhuan Mountain. The brief introduction shows that Master Shiyi is a person who loves his hometown. Such people are very common in another world, but in this fantasy world, Master Shiyi is a different kind. And he is also a nostalgic person. The fragrance falls ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 628. Almost all the medicinal materials I use to make elixirs come from Xuanhuan Mountain. Going to the mountains to collect herbs and refining elixirs at home to study medical skills are things I never tire of doing in my life. For this reason, I have never married or had children, nor have I accepted any disciples. Quite simply, there is no time. The corner of Xianxia's mouth twitched. She could see that even marrying a wife and having children was a waste of time, let alone taking on a disciple. With such a comparison, it is understandable that there is no apprentice. But when I was about to fall into nothingness, I realized that the medical skills and alchemy skills that I have devoted my life to studying have not been passed down to anyone. If I give it to anyone at will, if it is someone with evil intentions, it will be a disaster for the world instead of a benefit to the world. I am an eternal sinner. Xianxia was speechless. Let's take a look. You will regret it if you didn't make plans earlier. You won't even be able to find a successor. For this reason, for the first time in my life, I begged someone. I went to the heavenly master Xuanhuan and asked him to show me where my successor is. Xianxia raised her eyebrows. She knew that celestial master Xuanhuan was recorded in the historical records of the mainland. He was a man of the same era as Master Sima Xuanhuan. He was the most powerful celestial master 10,000 years ago. There are many legends about him. Few. Xianxia is already a celestial master now. She knows very well that it is not unusual for a celestial master to be able to see people's past. It is something that a celestial master must do. The true measure of a celestial master's strength is to look at a person's future. The further you look, the stronger your strength. Xianxia hasn't tried to see when she can see a person's past, but she should find a chance to try it. And this heavenly master Xuanhuan is said to be able to see people's future lives. When Xianxia saw the deeds of heavenly master Xuanhuan, he was still thinking about when he would become as powerful a heavenly master as heavenly masters in Yuan. At this time, Yan Xianglue was even more curious about what Tianqi Xinyuan saw. At that time, heavenly masters in Yuan had sealed the mountain and no longer used the heavenly master's power. However, when I went there, I didn't see anyone else, and I didn't even have to explain why I was there. He had already arranged for me to wait at the door. Please come in. Yu Xianglue was very surprised. Is the power of the heavenly master really so powerful that he can predict people who have not yet come to him? I understand, my teacher, that this trip is the right one. When Yan Xianglue saw this sentence, he understood that the reason why he was able to obtain the Shiyulu after 10,000 years must have something to do with this Xinyuan heavenly master. The man took me directly to the courtyard where Tianqi Xinyuan lived. Tianqi Xinyuan was dressed in snow-white robes and stood in the yard dancing in the wind. It made me feel like he was going to go with the wind. Master Yuan Tian looked at me, without saying a single polite word, and said very directly, I know your purpose of coming, although I have closed the mountain, but I must make you satisfied with your trip. Yan Xianglue was very surprised. Why is Tianqi Xinyuan so special to Master Shi? The mountain has been closed, and Master Shi made an exception without saying anything. You must know that the celestial master's sealing of the mountain is bound by the law of heaven. Master Xinyuan made an exception, which means he violated his promise and must accept the punishment of heaven. As a celestial master with great cultivation and great merits, celestial master Xinyuan should it was clear that the purge was still done, and there must be a reason for him to do it. Yan Xianglue continued to read. I was shocked when I heard this. I originally thought that this trip might not go as planned. Now not only has it gone so smoothly, but I have also received such a promise from Master Xinyuan. My heart sank, thinking that Master Xinyuan has closed the mountain and made an exception for me. Being punished by heaven, I immediately stated my intention. I didn't need Heavenly Master Xinyuan to test my luck. He only needed to give me some guidance. Heavenly Master Xinyuan smiled and said that he had already tested me. I was stunned and understood immediately. My trip is not only to solve my unfulfilled wish, but also to have a mission, and the price Tianqi Xinyuan paid for this is probably not something I can know. Yan Xianglue's heart sank. Both of them were influential figures of that era. It was obviously no small matter for Master Shi to feel like this. I gave a salute to Heavenly Master Xinyuan. In this case, I won't say anything else or thank you. Master Xinyuan, please tell me the truth. If there is anything I can do, it will be my duty, Heavenly Master Xinyuan said calmly. He told me that there was really something he needed me to do. Although he had already taken the test, it was not specific and needed a drop of my blood to make a more accurate prediction. I didn't say anything and just took a drop of my blood from between my eyebrows. The spiritual power package is delivered to Heavenly Master Xinyuan. People who are about to fall into nothingness will not be willing to part with a drop of their heart's blood. Yu Xianglue's heart palpitated and her heart began to bleed. She really knew why the Heavenly Master needed people's blood, because the soul control technique she had learned in the past few days was immediately mentioned. One person's hard work can make the Heavenly Master's eyes stronger, see further, and predict more accurately. She knew what Tianqi Xinyuan wanted to see. Celestial Master Xinyuan raised his hand to catch the blood from his heart, and then I felt a warm breath overflowing from his body. Master Xinyuan closed his eyes, and the drop of blood from his heart turned into blood mist. Then slowly disappeared. After they all disappeared, Xinyuan Tianqi's hair and beard turned white at a speed visible to the naked eye, his face quickly became old, and he was no longer standing so tall and straight. He looked completely different from the previous immortal aura. The old man seems to be sinking into nothingness soon. My heart sinks to the bottom, and the price is really high. Yu Xianglue was in awe. This is the Heavenly Master, and he will pay any price for his faith. Master Xuanhuan slowly opened his eyes and said to me, "Your apprentice will appear after 10,000 years. She is a girl, 10 years old, with stunning appearance, and many times more talented than you. You combine medical skills with alchemy. Master sort it out and send it out with mental power. 10,000 years later, she will meet you and pass on your medical skills and alchemy skills. She is an existence that you and I can't catch up with. I can't say more. You just need to remember, I wish you and I didn't come here in vain." Yan Xianglao looked at the description of herself, and it looked like she was herself. The power of the Heavenly Master was really powerful. After saying these words, Heavenly Master Xuanhuan waved his hand and asked me to leave. I respectfully saluted him again, because I knew very well that Heavenly Master Xuanhuan was about to fall into nothingness, earlier than me. In my heart, in fact, I felt very guilty. When I walked to the gate of the courtyard, Xianxia Xuanhuan's family members were waiting outside. The person who brought me in sent me out, and the others went in. Obviously, they already knew that Xianxia Xuanhuan would disappear into nothingness today. I went to see him for the last time. I left Heavenly Master Xuanhuan's residence with heavy steps and returned to Qingyun Mountain. Yan Xianglao was just reading the letter, and her heart was heavy. You can imagine Master Shiyi's mood at that time. After all, it was because of him, Master Xuanhuan, that he paid the price with his life. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 629. This should be the most costly time for Xuanhuan Celestial Master in his career, and it is also the last time. Yan Xianglao understood Master Shiyi's mood and continued to read the letter. The letter went on to tell what happened after Master Shiyi returned to Qingyun Mountain. Returning to Qingyun Mountain, Master Shiyi retreated for 3 months, compiled what he had learned in his life into Shiyulu, and then sent it out with the power of his spiritual consciousness, destined to be in the hands of his young apprentice who he would not be able to meet after 10,000 years. Actually, he doesn't know where the young apprentice will appear 10,000 years later, but his powerful mental power will carry out what he wants to do. This is also the reason why Shiyulu appears in lower continents. After that, Master Shiyi wrote this letter to his young apprentice. At the same time, he exhausted his lifespan and fell into nothingness. His voice spread throughout the continent, which is what everyone knows in the world. After he returned to nothingness, the purple bamboo forest in Qingyun Mountain was sealed. Only his disciples who came to worship him 10,000 years later could enter. Then a wide venue appeared, with a statue of him rising from the ground, and a practicing alchemist climbing stone steps. No wonder I wrote so many pages, these clear explanations occupy most of the letter. In the end there was only 1 page of letter paper left. Seeing this, my disciple should understand why Shiyulu is in your hands. The fate of master and disciple between you and me has been decided thousands of years ago. Although Xianxia Xuanhuan did not say why he was willing to give up the rest of his life, I am making predictions for my teacher, but I know that it must be because of some mission that my disciple has. If he can give a warning before he is born 10,000 years ago, my disciple must be extraordinary. Some disciples are like this. I did not come to this world in vain. Since my disciple came to Qingyun Mountain, I must have many doubts in my heart. This letter can only answer some of your doubts. As for the rest, it depends on whether you are destined. If you are really destined, you, my master and disciple, can still make up for the regret of not seeing each other. The letter ended here, and Yan Xiangluo's eyes fell on the last sentence. If there is really a fate, you and I, master and disciple, can make up for the regret of not seeing each other. What does it mean? Could it be that I still have a chance to meet Master Shiyi, a master who has spanned 10,000 years? It is impossible to be alive. Master Shi has been in nothingness for thousands of years, and his body has long been gone. It can only be a photo of his spiritual consciousness. Except that he has no entity, it is no different from seeing a living person. But what is the fate that allows them to meet? After Yan Xianglou read the letter, it turned into little stars and disappeared in her hand. Her hand still held the letter. Other than the Shiyulu, this was the only object from Master Shiyi's hand. She wanted to keep it as a thought, but it actually disappeared. After the letter completely disappeared, Yan Xianglou was still wondering, what kind of fate could make up for the regret that their master and apprentice could not meet. At this moment, the room shook, and Yan Xianglou's hands that were still holding the position immediately retracted, and her almond-shaped eyes looked around sharply. The room shook obviously and did not stop after shaking for a while, but she had no fear or bad premonition. As a heavenly master, although she cannot predict her own destiny, she can still sense dangers and bad things very accurately. Yan Xianglou stood still and did not move. The house shook more and more violently. Then, the structure of the entire house changed and everything in the house disappeared. From the door, you can see that the main room and the bedroom opposite have also disappeared. Although the study room she is in has not disappeared, its structure continues to change. Everything inside disappeared, including tables, chairs, bookshelves, etc. The whole room became empty, and the doors and windows disappeared. At this time, she seemed to be in a closed space. Yan Xianglou remained motionless, waiting for the change to end, and then see what else would happen. Could this be the fate? Master Shi said, right? At this time, outside the Zizu forest, the statue of Master Shi also started to shake. Xian, who was sitting underneath and practicing, noticed it and immediately quit practicing and stood up, quickly moving away from the statue. All the alchemists gathered outside the purple bamboo forest turned to look at the statue of Master Shi. The statue shook more and more violently, and then fell down like scattered sand, disappearing from the beginning, until the entire statue was scattered, disappearing on the ground along with the base of the statue, and the stone slabs on the ground of the wide venue. It also turned into sand and disappeared on the ground. The ground that was flat just now suddenly turned into dirt. Everyone was stunned. What is going on? Suddenly, I thought of the steps for climbing a mountain. If I was close to the steps, I hurriedly ran a few steps over and found that the steps had disappeared. There was only a dirt road up the mountain. If people from thousands of years ago saw it, they would know that this was the road up Qingyun Mountain when Master Chu Shi lived here. The alchemist who came late has not yet finished climbing the mountain. He is at different heights on the mountain road and does not know what happened. The stone steps suddenly disappeared and there was no resistance. With no resistance, they all jumped into the air and went directly to the top of the mountain. But when they reached the top of the mountain and saw the scene on the mountain, they were confused. What happened? Why were the statues of Master Shi gone? Master Shi's successor appears, won't it destroy the Divine Doctor Mountain? This all happened in a matter of seconds. Xian looked at everything that happened and was shocked. What on earth did Miss Yu do in the purple bamboo forest? Is the Divine Doctor Mountain going to cease to exist? At this time, he was very happy that he sat down and practiced decisively, and gained a lot. He understood that there would be no such opportunity in the future. Everyone looked at the purple bamboo forest again. Since the stone steps for climbing have disappeared, does the resistance of the purple bamboo forest also disappear? Someone immediately tried it, and was instantly counterattacked by the resistance of Zizulin. The strength was astonishing. Because the person was knocked out and fell into the mountain col in the distance like a parabola. Fortunately, he has cultivation skills, but he can only save his life. The injuries are certain and not serious. I hope his medical skills and alchemy skills can heal his own injuries. When everyone saw this, no one dared to try to enter the purple bamboo forest. While they all sighed at the strength of Master Shi, They also wondered whether there would be nothing left in the Divine Doctor Mountain in the end, right? At the same time, the shaking of the changed room where Yanxiangluo was located finally ended, and the empty space seemed to have no boundaries, high and far-reaching. Even the ground beneath my feet became illusory, as if suspended in the air. Suddenly, the void in front seemed to be torn open by something, and a gap appeared. Yanxiangluo raised her eyes and looked over. A figure walked out of the gap, and Yanxiangluo's eyes narrowed. This person looked exactly like the statue of Master Shi, but he was not Master Shi. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 630. Yanxiangluo wondered, she had done nothing, how could this opportunity arise? No matter how he appeared, Master Shi has now been seen, and she will not miss the opportunity to formally become a disciple. This is her gratitude to Master Shi for the Shiyulu left behind and her respect for his achievements in medicine and alchemy. Xianxiangluo quickly knelt down and smashed his head. I saw Master. Master Shi lowered his eyes and looked at the kneeling girl, with surprise in his eyes. Not bad, he actually accepted the inheritance of the spiritual power ball. Could the spiritual power ball be the spiritual power that exploded from the sea of consciousness? Could this be opportunity? Yanxiangluo kept kneeling and was speechless. Even so, Master, you are curious, can you let me get up first? Get up, let me see if my little disciple after 10,000 years is the same as Tianqi Xuanhuan said, Master Shi said with a hint of joy. Yanxiangluo was speechless. How could this Shi master have such an old naughty temperament? How could such a person be obsessed with medicine and alchemy all his life? But it finally got her up, and she quickly stood up. After standing up, he met the eyes of Master Shi. Although he had the same appearance as the statue, it was now a photo of his spiritual consciousness, just like a real person. His feelings suddenly changed. This is a person with an interesting soul. This is Master Shi's first impression of Yanxiangluo. Well, the appearance is indeed good, the eyes are clear, the concentration is strong enough, and the talent is indeed better than me. Master Shi looked at Yanxiangluo and said his evaluation sentence by sentence. Yanxiangluo's big eyes flashed. What should she say about this evaluation? Is this a master's evaluation of his apprentice? Master, are you taking a photo with your spiritual consciousness? Yanxiangluo said. Master Shi blinked and said, it must be 10,000 years before I can see you. Master has been in nothingness for 10,000 years, so it is natural that his spiritual consciousness will take a picture at this time. Yanxiangluo asked again, then how long can the master's spiritual consciousness remain? Master Shi was stunned, and the smile and joy on his face suddenly disappeared. 15 of an hour. Yanxiangluo calculated it, and a quarter of an hour is equivalent to 15 minutes. This time passed quickly. You are still wasting time evaluating what I am doing. If you have anything to explain, please say it quickly. Don't run out of time. Obviously, Master Shi also knew what Yanxiangluo meant, and sighed, he is indeed a wise man. He can be so sensible at this time and know what to do. Yanxiangluo was speechless. She just didn't want to hear what the master said about her. She knew what she was like. I have no regrets about being able to meet my master. I can guarantee that I will study the elixirs and medical skills in Shuyilu, and pass on the Shuyilu. When selecting successors, I will definitely put their character first. 1. Yanxiangluo said what she could do. This was also a restriction for herself. She had promised in front of Master Shi that she would do it. Master Shi waved his hand, you can make your own decisions about these. You are the one who is amazed by Master Xuanhuan. You can't be wrong. Master believes in you. Master left this photo of his spiritual consciousness. Wanting to see you is just one of them. In the end, the main thing is that I have one more important thing to explain. but the prerequisite is that you have the ability to touch the mental power ball, otherwise you won't be able to do it. Yu Xianglou understood that it was not impossible for Master Shi to see him, just like leaving a trace of his spiritual consciousness to take a photo. However, the fact that he did not do that shows that meeting him is not as important as what he has to explain next. Are the mental powers generated in my sea of consciousness? Yan Xianglou asked. Master Shi said in shock, you said that spiritual power grew from your sea of consciousness. Yan Xianglou was stunned for a moment, wasn't she? After I received the letter that Master left for me, I didn't read it immediately. Instead, I meditated. A lot of spiritual power did grow in the sea of consciousness. At first, they were all golden stars, but after they were compacted, the sea of consciousness turned into its golden. I don't know if this is the spiritual power ball that Master said. Master Shi looked at her and suddenly laughed, so that's the case, no wonder Tianqi Xuanhuan is willing to spend all his life to help me. Yan Xianglou looked at Master Shi in confusion. Master Xuanhuan will help him? How is this going? Is there something hidden at that time? Master Shi laughed heartily and then looked at Yan Xianglou and said, the letter I left for you is only part of it. As for the things I didn't tell you in the letter, you are not strong enough to know. Yan Xiang fell and her heart sank. This gesture looked like a big secret was being revealed. Let's talk about the most important thing first. Master Shi raised his hand as he spoke, and a ray of light came towards Yan Xianglou. The speed was extremely fast. When Yan Xianglou saw it, the light submerged between her eyebrows and entered her sea of consciousness. Don't rush to read it yet, time is limited, listen to me first. Master Shi stopped Yan Xianglou from checking it immediately. Yan Xianglou held back after hearing this. She knew that time was really running out. A third of the quarter of an hour had already passed. Master, please speak, Yan Xianglou said respectfully. What I just gave you is the refining method of the demon transformation pill, but it has not been successful yet. It is the method that Master finally wanted to study but failed. Refining the demon transformation pill requires strong mental power. When you refine it in the future, got it? Therefore, you must have the ability to touch the spiritual power ball, Master Shi explained. Although Yan Xianglou was shocked, she did not interrupt Master Shi's words. The mental power ball is not an ordinary treasure that stores mental power. It is the fusion of the mental powers of 7 ancient tribulation transcending masters. Over the long years, I don't know how many people have obtained it and benefited from it. I have also benefited from it. The beneficiary. Absorbing the spiritual power inside can improve the talent and realm of cultivation. I am able to achieve such achievements because of the spiritual power of this spiritual power ball, which improves my talent. However, spiritual power cannot be absorbed infinitely, but varies from person to person. When your talent reaches its maximum level, you can no longer absorb the spiritual power inside it. In other words, when you can't absorb the spiritual power inside, that's when your talent is at its strongest. I am no exception. When I was refining the magic elixir, I encountered a mental power ball. Refining the magic elixir requires a high level of mental talent. I kept absorbing the mental power inside, but I still got there. At the limit, the research on the demon transformation pill is just a little bit unsuccessful. Now the pill formula is left to you. It counts as you helping the master fulfill his wish, and it is also your apprenticeship ceremony to the master. Yan Xianglou immediately said, Master, don't worry, I will definitely study the magic pill with all my heart.